Leader of the third party.
Thank you. A couple of questions then about the definitions in Clause 1. The North Coast transmission line is specified, well, not specified, from around Prince George to around Terrace. This strikes me as very vague, given, as the minister said, 90% of the current alignment is a twinning. Can the minister tell us where the terminus of the North Coast transmission line is to be located?
Minister.
As the member would know, we're still working with the nations, for example, on the routing. And so the wording's appropriate given those discussions that are ongoing.
Leader of the third party.
Thank you. So does the terminology of around a municipality have any legal meaning or constraint? I understand the vagueness, but does that mean it's within a certain distance of Prince George or Terrace, or could around be applied to any distance?
Minister.
Well, we don't define around in the Act, but, and thankfully not, we'd have much longer bills, but it has its ordinary meaning. It's, and we know where the line's going. We're twinning an existing line, so we know where the line's going, but there are specific questions about routing that the member will understand. But in a general sense, it's going from Prince George to Terrace, and it's an established project, and looking forward to it being built.
Leader of the third party.
Thank you. So the term renewable energy is defined to mean energy derived from a renewable resource. The term renewable resource is listed a number of renewable resources with an additional caveat of a prescribed resource. So can the minister speak to how, when, where, and why a resource might need to be prescribed as renewable after the legislation is passed?
Minister.
Well, the definition does allow for other resources to be prescribed. We know this field of renewable energy is expanding, opportunities expand, but what they have to be is renewable, right? It's not fossil fuels, it's not uranium, they have to be renewable resources. That's in the definition. So what we're saying is, as we do in the Clean Energy Act, and this adopts exactly that approach to the Clean Energy Act, is that if there's new technological developments that assist us in having a new renewable prescribed activity, then the legislation gives government the opportunity to prescribe it, just as it does in the Clean Energy Act, and just as you would expect it to do. That said, what we tried to do is be more specific, to list off the ones that we expect are available today, and we've done that, which I suppose may not be necessary, but is designed to assist in understanding of what we're doing and allows us to add other resources. But what's absolutely clear is that it's not fossil fuels, and it's not uranium, because for one, there's two other regulatory regimes, one for nuclear, which says no, essentially, Clean Energy Act, and the other, the application of the energy regulator to oil and gas, already in place for them. But the purpose of this is to support and to, yes, fast-track renewable energy projects, which are these projects and potentially in future projects that we don't imagine exactly today.
Leader of the third party.
Thank you. If at some point in the future there is a new renewable resource that we're not currently aware of, such as cold fusion, or I was going to say hydrogen, but that doesn't apply, would it not be simple to amend this bill rather than giving the need for this regulatory power to cabinet? I'm still not understanding why a cabinet would need to prescribe this on a short-term basis, given what we already know about renewables and the possibility there.
Minister.
Well, we could, would say, define renewables more broadly, and then when I'm asked a question in committee, list off the appropriate, the renewables that we're aware of now. What we've done instead is to add to that definition specific forms of renewable energy, which is what we've done, and then said that if others are developed and need to be prescribed, that it be added by regulation. And this is precisely the approach taken in the current Clean Energy Act. I suppose one could have a different approach in this act as to the present Clean Energy Act, but that's not what we seek to do. And what we're seeking to do is support renewable energy here with this legislation because it's in the public interest, not least of which of communities, of First Nations, and of the public. And so what we're attempting to do in the definitions section is say, here's what renewable energy is. There may be some things we haven't contemplated, and we'll be able to address those by regulation without having, as much as I enjoy the extensive process that develops around legislation. And personally, I might appreciate that. I think it's a reasonable provision and one that mirrors the existing act.
Leader of the third party.
Okay, so I appreciate the list that's in the legislation, and I believe I understand what renewable means. However, would the minister concede that it is possible that somebody could claim that a fossil fuel is renewable over a certain period of time? I mean, I believe LNG has been presented certainly as cleaner than other fossil fuels. Could a legal argument not be made that, for example, natural gas or fossil gas is renewable, whether it's within our lifetime or several hundred million years? Is that not a possible argument in the future?
Minister.
Fossil fuels, this does not apply to fossil fuels. They are not renewable. Say that very clearly again so that everybody understands. It's possible people understand it who are listening online. They're not renewable. Fossil fuels are otherwise regulated by the BC Energy Regulator. And so it is not possible, and I don't think any fossil fuel proponent would want it to be, but regardless, under this act, it's not for fossil fuels, it's for renewable resources in the way that we understand it.
Leader of the third party.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the definitive answer and indication on this. However, I have to say that in this bill and another bill that is being considered, there is the government is indulging in a lot of, just trust us, we won't use it that way. And so I do have a motion for an amendment to that definition of renewable resource. Sorry, Madam Chair, I don't think I've done this in committee. Can I give this to you? And oh, there we go. Thank you. And so I rise to move an amendment to Clause 1 in my name. Yes. It seeks to remove, let me just find the bill. It would remove the words "or a prescribed resource" from the definition of renewable resource. So that would leave the existing list of 6, 7, 8 resources. And then can I speak to it? May I? Thank you. So as I said, seeks to amend the definition by removing prescribed resource. The definition of renewable resource as it's written includes all the renewable energy resources that we know, but seems to leave open the ability for the minister to determine, or for cabinets to determine, what is considered renewable without appropriate scientific input. We don't know what this potential resource could be that would be included. Definition does not need ambiguity to include some other form of renewable resource that could be potentially damaging. I believe, I'm introducing this because I think it's important that we don't devolve some of these decisions to cabinets. And we're debating the legislation. The legislation is clear until we get to prescribed resource, at which point it could be something else that we're not aware of. I would suggest that if we come across another renewable resource, that there will be, it would be worth taking the time to have this debate, to sit in this room again and talk about it. And with that, I would encourage support to this amendment, because I don't believe that Cabinet needs this kind of discretion under the legislation as it's presented.
The committee will take a recess while we consider the amendment. And
Afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call the Committee on the Whole on Bill Number 14, Renewable Energy Projects Streamlined Permitting Act back to order. We are currently considering an amendment to Clause 1, which has been ruled to be in order. I understand that the leader of the third party has already given his remarks. So the question is the amendment to Clause 1. Recognizing the minister.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I wouldn't want to miss a debate on an amendment, although I'd be happy to let the member for Peace River South go first if you'd like. But, you know, in my view, the definition of renewable resource is clear. A resource has to be renewable to be added to this category. That's explicit. I've made that clear to the member. The definition here is consistent with the Clean Energy Act, passed in the last. We're having different definitions, I don't think would be useful to the legislature or to the public. This to be clear that nuclear is not a renewable resource because it relies on finite resources. And so I would oppose, understand the reasonable legislation being brought forward by the leader of the third party. I have no objection to it, but I don't agree with it and I don't support it. I don't think it's helpful to make this piece of legislation inconsistent with another or to exclude future renewable resources. And the issue of them being renewable is defined in the Act, that to put in roadblocks to the adoption of future renewable resources. So appreciate the spirit in which the amendment was presented, but I don't support it and will be voting against it.
Recognizing the member for Peace River South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With extreme respect to the minister, I have seen and I continue to experience people and industries, members of industry that in fact are marketing natural gas as renewable if it's from a biosource. I've seen, well, and I guess I haven't spoken of this in the legislature before, but I did teach law when I was in high school. I was a TA, and while I taught tort law, I would be curious as to the actual definition of what a renewable product is. If we think about how natural gas is actually formed, it is from a biological product. And it's a decomposition, anthropogenic decomposition of a biological source. I think, again, I'm not a lawyer, not pretending to be one, but I wonder if, in fact, there might be an opportunity for a challenge in that particular instance. I'll give another example where, and I didn't confirm this, so I'm not going to say it with all certainty, other than I was of the understanding that the energy regulator was suggesting that the oil from Northeast BC was green, for the simple fact that it was being produced under very high levels of scrutiny or very high level legislative requirements. So in principle, I agree with the minister, but I think there is an opportunity here to actually take a little bit closer look at what that definition actually does mean. So, thank you.
Recognizing the minister.
Yeah, I think we're talking about separate issues here. It may be that a form of energy has, say, a low emission characteristic, or a process with a low emission characteristic, or that a company or an enterprise might define something as renewable, because generally that's a nice word. It's one that I like. It's in the title of the legislation, as it turns out. But I'm saying for the purposes of the definition in this legislation, as established equally in the Clean Energy Act, that would not be the case. And so you would have to address that differently if you wanted that to happen. So in response to the amendment put forward by the leader of the third party, I'd say that while people may may advocate for different forms of energy, it was the Oil and Gas Commission was created to regulate oil and gas, and it was defined the Oil and Gas Commission, and then now in the BC Energy Regulator. In this case, this is designed to advance renewable energy projects, including those stated and ones that we might identify in the future that are renewable in the ordinary understanding and the legislative understanding of the term. And so that's why it wouldn't apply to those things. Should a future government wish to take different action with respect to, you know, renewable gas or whatever it's sometimes called, different things, right, in this space, or want to take different action with respect to natural gas and its regulation, it could do so under a different act, but that would be, the legislature is free to take actions in the future. But on this law, on this basis, it's renewable energy as we understand it here, and currently that's those forms of energy as described in Section 1, and should you want to add that, it would have to be defined. It would have to be a future form of energy that would meet that criteria.
Recognizing the member for Peace River South.
Thank you to the Minister, Madam Chair, for that answer. Then would this amendment not help us eliminate that potential for misconstruing or misunderstanding or a reinterpretation of that word? Thank you.
Recognizing the minister.
Not at all, any more than the current definition in the Clean Energy Act would. The definition, there's a definition in the Act of, if you look at Section 1 of renewable energy, means energy derived from a renewable resource, right? And then renewable resource means biomass, biogas, geothermal heat, hydro, solar, ocean, wind, or a prescribed resource, and that would be something consistent with the definition of renewable as found in the legislation and in other legislation.
Recognizing the member for Peace River South.
Once again, I thank you for the answer. The one topic or the one situation that I am thinking of is I was invited to attend a facility where they are proposing to market renewable natural gas from biogas, or creating a biogas from landfill waste and marketing as natural gas. How would the minister deal with that situation? Thank you.
Recognizing the minister.
Well, if you look at the definition here, biogas is already included in that circumstance, so that's in the section already and is reflected in that. I think there's enormous progress being made in the space, and it's one of the things when we talk with the Minister of Energy in Alberta and other jurisdictions, we talk about how it is that we can reduce emissions, and I'm very proud, for example, in BC, that we put forward projects that have the lowest emissions in their category in the world, because I think it's something that we can market around the world and will have a real impact on people. So this isn't a statement about that. I think we've got to encourage innovation everywhere as we address energy demands and issues around climate change, for example. So I'm not making a statement about that. I'm simply saying that's what the legislation will do, and it's why I'm opposed to the amendment.
Recognizing the member for Peace River South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I accept the minister's answer. Thank you.
Seeing no further questions or comments, the question is the amendment to Clause 1. Shall the amendment pass?
Nay. Aye.
Division.
The motion is, the amendment is defeated.
Do you want division?
Yeah.
Division? Division has been called.
First one.
Yes.
I don't have to vote. It's Vision and Low House.
Before putting the question, I remind all members that only the members of Section C or their duly appointed substitute are authorized to vote. The question is, shall the amendment to Clause 1 pass? Those in favor, please rise or otherwise indicate. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. Those voting nay, please rise or otherwise indicate. Thank you. You may be seated. Clerk?
MLA Davidson,
I vote nay.
MLA Gibson,
I vote nay.
those voting aye, Wilson, Peyton, Moss, McCall, L. Neufeld, Valeriote, 6. Those voting nay, Dix, Rutledge, Morissette, Wickens, Davidson, Gibson, 6.
Seeing that the votes are equal, as chair, I must exercise a casting vote as per Standing Order 10. On page 75 of Parliamentary Practice in BC, 5th edition, it is noted that the chair should vote against an amendment or sub-amendment to a clause or schedule to maintain the bill in its existing form or to allow for further discussion. Therefore, I cast my vote against the proposed amendment. The amendment is therefore defeated. Shall Clause 1 pass? Aye.